In the last video, we made this curved slider, and to continue this series, I'm going to create the final one, which is called Panorama Swiper Slider. And if you go down, you can see this is how it looks. It creates this, I don't know, curved 3D effect, which looks pretty amazing. It's very easy to make. There are two different methods I'm going to show you. The first method is like very fast. The second method is more flexible, but it is only required if you're using, let's say, a image in the background or gradient in the background. So again, this is a part of my this slider collection. You can see it's like so big, and some stuff that I want to tell you. That first thing, I actually have a free template for all of this pack that you could just download, and consider supporting me by using like Elementor affiliate links or using hosting link, and that way you can support me. Or you could just go and buy my Elementor templates, and that way also you can support me. I would also be linking this page which would have the code. You don't need to know how to code, but I'll have this code that is available in here that we will be using, and some more stuff in this blog page. And also this one would also be linked, which is custom base slider. This is the first video that I made. It's a 1 hour video in the slider series, and I go in much more detail so that I don't have to make all the other videos so big. So if you want to learn more after watching this video, you can also watch this, which goes in a lot more detail compared to the other videos. And this would also allow you to customize more stuff in future. So let's start by making the simpler version in which you have to use a solid background. What I mean by that is, let's say if I have this container in which I would have my slider, it needs to have a solid background. You cannot have images and all. This is the first version. If you want to have images and all, then watch the second version that I'll show a bit later in this video. So the first one is to do a simple carousel that you could make. So here you could go and search for carousel. This is a simpler version, so I'm going to do a bit quicker. Let's make it be in center like this. This is going to be our carousel widget that comes with Elementor. If you watch the first video, which is the custom base slider, like this one, we make this same slider, but with our own code, so that it's much more customizable. You could also use that. Okay, it doesn't have to be just this widget, carousel widget. You could also use that and do the same step in this one too. So for now, I'm just going to go and add. Can I just do it without adding? Okay, let's try adding some images in here. Okay, it's still visible. Okay, it is visible. So let's add the slides like this. So all I simply did was give all 3 slides an image, you can see, and also gave, like, I think first one 300 pixel height. So make sure we also gave like other ones too, just for safety purpose. Okay, now how can I make this have panorama effect? Where is it? Like this one. Well, it's actually a trick that we use. So what we can do is we can select a container and add extra container in here, and inside this container we will add our carousel widget completely like this. Now we don't want any gap between this one, so I'll remove the gap so that it completely covers it like this. And what I'm going to do is, in this container I will go to shape divider, and in the top I will be using this one, this curve, and we'll say that bring to front like this. Now if I go and add some height, let's say 40, 50, this is how it looks. But if I go to the container color, which is the same as the background one, and give it the same color, suddenly you can see it looks like a cutout. Okay, this is the same thing that we are doing. It's just a basic version. And for the bottom one, we'll do this one, curve like this. Add this maybe height of 500. Is it wrong? Okay, bring to front, I mean, sorry, 50. Let's invert. Is it wrong one? No, this is correct one. Why is it looking like this? So you can see this is how it's looking, but it's looking curved like this, probably because of pagination. Let's do none. Yep, there was pagination happening, but I think it's around here, and because we are using this curved layout, it's not visible. So if I do pagination none, or is there a way to move it completely? Well, maybe not. Let's do none, and this is how it looks. It looks like the curved stuff. you can see, and as you move you can actually see that it looks like a panorama. And obviously you could go and select your carousel, go to settings and do offset both. If I do preview now, you can see this is how it looks. It's the same effect as this one, done pretty quickly like this. Looks nice, curved and all. Again, make this have carousel, I don't know, like slides on scroll only one, else it would move like too much. Okay, but this is where it fails, where if I go to this container and let's say I want to give a image as a background, now what do? Like, we cannot have a color or cutout around here. It's not possible to do. So for that we need to use something called mask. What mask does is that instead of we creating this illusion by adding what you call like this curve on top, we basically do a cut like this. We basically cut this much part, and that way nothing's around here, so that the background is visible. So let's go to this container and remove the shape dividers. So just keep one thing in mind. I'm going to show first with using the Elementor's inbuilt carousel, and then I'll do is make it from scratch by using the swiper library that I've been using from the start for this video, where it actually allows us to customize it, and that also allows to have this buttons and all outside. So for now I'll do with Elementor's carousel widget. If you go to this panorama slider carousel, if you go down completely, you would find this code called panorama mask. Let's copy this much like this, and I'm going to do is add an HTML widget. But you could, if you have Elementor Pro, you would just go to advanced and to add it in here. But if you don't have, use this HTML widget and type style and paste it in here. And you need to download this template. You have to download this template for this one, because in that template I have added this SVG mask. So in the template you would find this mask like this SVG mask. If you go and to edit with Notepad, you will find some more extra code called preserve, aspect ratio, and vbox, like this stuff. So what this SVG mask is, if I go and add it in here, it's just a mask. Like this black part is the mask that I created in Illustrator. And what you need to do is, for now let me just show what happens if I copy this DM Panorama Swiper without the dot. We do not copy the dot and add it to our carousel, and suddenly you can see it works easily. It works because what I'm doing is we are using this mask to add it on the carousel. You would obviously place it outside too, doesn't matter now for the container, and you can see it would basically just work now. But I do want to tell you that you have to change the URL so that you are adding this mask from your website and not from my website. So you can see it just works properly, no issues. This glitch which we are seeing like this one, it's actually just the carousel's issue. Now let me copy this in here to just tell you one thing, that this URL, you can see this is actually using the mask from my website. So if I go in here, it's actually using from my website. So make sure you upload the mask in your website and then change this URL. Okay, basically you have to upload it in your media file. Now SVG by default is not allowed to upload. If you have Elementor Pro, you can actually just do it. It just gives like a tick mark or a notification that you are uploading SVG. But if you do not have Elementor Pro, just install a plugin that allows you to upload SVG, and then you could remove it after that. And once you uploaded the SVG files, you can actually copy this file URL and then go in your URL part and then basically replace it with your website. The reason why I'm saying that is, if I stopped using my website, or if my website goes down, it would not show it. Your this code would not be visible because it was getting from my website right now. You could see http DMmotionarts.com. So when you use your URL, it will be using from your website, so that even my website goes down, your effect would still work properly. And the thing is, you can customize the curve, but you actually need to use some kind of vector tool, vector software. You do it online too. There are free online vector software, or you could just go in here, like type in edit in notepad, copy this in ChatGPT and tell that I want like lesser curve or something, and then after done just paste it in here and do save, and it will automatically update this SVG. If you are using Illustrator or any other software to create your own SVG, just do one thing, go in ChatGPT, like click like this, okay, something like this, notepad, copy this, go in ChatGPT and tell that I want to add preserve aspect ratio to be none. Okay, if you don't add that, then it would not be possible to stretch the SVG mask. It will always be perfect size. So that way you can actually control the curve. It's a bit longer way, but it is important because this is the only way I have found it to be working. Now the problem with this one is that you cannot add this arrows and all outside in here. For example, if I want this arrows to be, let's say, around here, let's say if I move it, you can see it just gets disappeared. Why? Because the SVG mask cuts anything that is outside in here. That's why we will be now using what we've been making for the last videos, that is using a custom swiper slider. So instead of using the carousel from Elementor, we will be creating our own carousel, and this is the same stuff that I've been making for the last 8 or 9 videos, where I've been making our own carousel. The steps are same as the first video. If you watch or any other video, just we have to make our own carousel, that's all. So let's do it. Let's start by adding our container, which is the first one, which is going to be our slider. So I'll call it as Panorama Swiper. This has to be full width, remember. I'll add another container inside of it called Swiper Wrapper. Inside our Swiper Wrapper, we will add our slides. I'm speeding it up because I've done this like so many times in this series. Let's not duplicate our slides. Make sure all of them are full width. You could see container does not matter because this is where our slide starts. So wherever you want to use the slide, you would basically be copying this stuff. Now between us, I'll also make it be in center. Between our Panorama Swiper and Swiper Wrapper, there is a gap. You can see there's a gap. We don't want that. So let's go in here and remove the gap by removing the padding. Between our Swiper Wrapper and slide, we have gap. So let's remove by removing the padding. The slide one, let's add some colors. Like this. And if I duplicate the slide, there's a gap in between. We don't want that. So in our Swiper Wrapper, we remove the gap like this. This one is controlled by the code. We make it go left to right and do no wrap, and make sure all 3 devices are using no wrap. Now the thing with Elementor is that they add their icons and all inside this container called Panorama Swiper. Like they add it inside this container. So when you add, let's say, our mask, it basically covers this much area like this, and that's why we cannot place this outside. So when we moved our navigation outside, it didn't work because this icons, let's say the left arrow was like inside this container, like this, in this Panorama container. So anything this outside this is hidden. If I do, let's say, we have to do this, which is overflow hidden like this. And if I, let's say, move this one outside, in position absolute and move it outside, you can see it gets hidden. So this is the limitation with Elementor, because they have already created the layout. We cannot customize it. So this one thing we can do with our custom one is that we can actually place this outside our swiper like this. Okay, so let's add a right arrow like this. We can actually place it outside our swiper slider like this. And then after this, we'll add another carousel, not here, it's outside also, and call it pagination. Now if you have watched the first video, you know that we can create 3 types of pagination. First is dot, second is fraction, and third is progress bar. In this video, I'll only show dots, and if you want to learn more, watch the first video or any other video. So after we have done all of this, we go to the Panorama slider carousel page. We go here and we copy the DM Panorama Swiper. Right now we are doing the same steps that we have been doing for the past 8 videos. Okay, we are doing panorama swiper. Let's give it to our swiper. Do not copy the dot, okay? We do not copy the dot when we add it around here in the CSS class. We now need wrapper class, slide class, next element, previous element, pagination, which is available in the code around here. So wrapper class, let's copy it, DM panorama swiper wrapper. Let's copy our slide class, which is DM panorama swiper slide. Give it to our slides. Next, we will copy our next element. Do not copy the dot. DM panorama swiper next. Give it to the next arrow. DM panorama swiper previous without the dot. Let's give to the previous arrow. DM panorama swiper pagination. We give it to a pagination container. And after we have done this, we'll copy this code, go into a container, and at the end, we'll basically paste it like this. Suddenly something looks weird. You can see it. So let's just do preview first and see what's happening. Looks weird. That is simply because in our swiper wrapper we need to give it a height. So let's say I give 300 height. I'll also do some padding just for visual purpose. And this is how it looks, but it looks weird, right? And why is that? Well, because we only have 3 of them. Let's add some different color to see it. And obviously you could add anything inside of this, okay? It doesn't have to be what I'm adding. So right now I've done this. Now if you do not have, let's say, 5 slides and you want to repeat these 3 slides again and again, maybe you do not have, let's say, 5 slides and your client is like, I only have 3 slides but I want this effect. What you could do is you could just duplicate the first slide and add it at the end, duplicate the second slide, add it at the end, duplicate the third slide, add it at the end. Did I place it outside accidentally? Oops, I did. So like this one, second slide, duplicate the third slide and add it at the end like this. So even though there are 6 slides, we are basically acting like there are only 3. But obviously if you have 6 slides with 6 different designs, then you could basically just add different stuff, which is what I'm going to do, which is add like different colors for all 6 slides. Okay, now if I do preview, we got it to work properly, you can see. And obviously now if I give it a background, the background is here and this curve is working properly. But how about I want my pagination? It shouldn't be top to bottom. If you want, you could keep it this way, but I want it left to right, so I'll do left to right. And also I don't want my icons to look like this. Again, this is like my personal design choice. It would be different for your designs too. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a container and I'm going to add all of this inside of it, okay? And then I'll basically say go left to right, pin center, like this, to publish, and let's see. And guess what? We got some design working. The buttons are also here, but you just need to customize it to different color. And you can see we also got the navigation icon, and we didn't use Elementor carousel, so we were able to use this properly outside too. Let's learn a bit more about the customization. I'm going to copy the code in here. Now again, the same stuff that I showed before. In the panorama mask, make sure you change the URL to your own one after uploading this to your website and basically changing this URL. You can obviously customize the SVG mask to have more curve or less curve. Let's go up and let's start going from up to down. Now I'm not going to go in much more detail for all this stuff because in the first video I go so much in detail where I change each value and show each changes in the live page, but that would turn this video very huge. So for now, let's just go in here. So loop is set to true, basically it would loop. So if you turn this to false, you know it would not loop. The grab cursor, it changes the cursor to this hand icon. It would look proper for your page because you're not using this weird mouse, okay? Mouse wheel is set to false, basically you can change the slides with scroll wheel. Center slides is set to true. Initial slide is set to 1. Let's see if we need to do that or not. The slide one has the color purple. Let's see. Okay, we have to do it. So in the first video I've explained it, but I'm not going to explain this in much detail. But so what we are basically saying that start with the second slide. So why is second slide called 1? Well, because it's index and it basically starts with 0 1 2, like 0 1 2 3 4 5 6, like this. So the first slide is supposed to be 0, but when you use centered slide with something called slides per view auto, like this stuff, slides per view auto, center slides true and loop true, when you use like 3 of this combination, if you do not use this initial slides one, it will start from here, from the last slide, because it thinks that this is the first one, so it starts with 0 from here. Again, you don't need to understand much, but basically this one would be considered as 0 after Swiper changes the layout a bit. So when we use 1, we are basically saying that start with the second slide, because the Swiper code thinks that this is the second slide, but it's actually our first slide. So again, you could change this to 0 or 1. You can change this to 0 to understand it. Okay, free mode is set to false. Again, this is just when you move it, it should glide or not. Okay, in the first video I've explained that. Slides per view is set to auto. I've explained it in much more detail in the first one, but in this one we actually use it in a different way. The reason for that is because we want an offset slide. Offset slide is basically the other slide should be slightly visible, like the left and right should be like slightly visible. These are all the classes. If you watched the first video, you would know how we can change to fraction or progress bar, but right now we are using bullet classes. So bullet class is nothing but all our bullets, so all our dots should be given the CSS class DMPanorama bullet, so the code automatically gives them. And the active is basically whichever is the active one. It's not visible because of the background, but let's see if I can find it in here. Yeah, okay, so whatever is the active one would have the CSS class DMPanorama bullet active plus this one, but whichever is the default one would only have this CSS class. This way basically it allows us to style it in the CSS. This is just space between each slides. So for mobile we want 20, tablet we want this, and desktop we want 20. So this is basically the gap between each slide, so you can change it to your own liking. So here you could see something called offset next and previous slide. This is the code that we use to offset the left and right part. This is for desktop, this is for tablet, this is for mobile, and you can see that divide by 3 basically means that show 3 slides. So you could say 3 slides are shown fully, and 200 pixels here means show 100 pixels on the left, 100 pixels on the right. Okay, so if I change this to let's say 4, you can see this is now 4. Okay, but because it's centered, it's actually looking like this, but technically it's like showing 4 slides like this. And again, 200 pixels means 100 pixels on the left, 100 pixels on the right. So if I let's say make this to be 100 and do preview, it would be 50 on the left, 50 on the right. And see 50 on the left, 50 on the right. You would see that there was a weirdness happening on the left and right around here. It actually got fixed when I went into Panorama Swiper and gave gaps to be 0. It was not looking curved properly like this, but now it looks after I given the gaps to be 0. So again, this is for desktop, this is for tablet, and this is for mobile. You see in mobile I'm only showing 1 slide. For tablet I'm showing 2 slides, and for desktop I'm showing 3 slides, and all of these are different. Next is this width fit content. Basically this pagination would automatically be the size of this container. However many dots are there, it would automatically take that size. But if you want, you could give a percentage to like 20%, 10%, and all that stuff. Then we got for bullet pagination. This is styling for the bullets. So if you check here, it is width 8, height 8, but aspect ratio is 1. aspect ratio 1 kind of forces it to be a square. If you do not want the bullets to be a square, then you can remove this, and basically it would allow you to have rectangle shapes. Background is set to black, background color is set to black, border radius is 100, so it turns into a circle, and then opacity is set to 0.2, so you can see opacity is set to 0.2. But anything that you add in here, like opacity 1, it is applied to only the active one, like this. So which means that if you add anything like background red, scale, and anything else, it would be applied to the active one around here. Even like anything that you copy in here, you could add it with different designs. And make sure you change the URL in here to the one that you have uploaded. I hope it helped. I know I went a bit fast, but because I don't want each video to be like very huge, you will just get the template to be a bit faster. And yeah, I think that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.